This is the EVP Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the EVP Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Beaker.
And I am Ghosty, make Ghostface.
This
is my full legal name.
Full legal name this episode. This must be a special episode we're doing.
Actually, we're back.
We are back.
That was a long week off we had.
It was. It didn't feel like it. It's only been a week, but it doesn't feel like it's been a week.
No, it wasn't long. It flew by so fast. Every day flies by.
Well, for you, I was on vacation for the last 2 weeks, so all my days just kind of like.
Well, that makes it fly by even faster usually.
No, not really. I had so much free time to do whatever I wanted. It was great.
It felt like you had too much time off?
Except for doing research for the podcast. I'm just kidding.
It's like homework all over again.
We want to thank you for listening to our episode last week. The Hudson Valley Aliens.
Yeah. UFO capital of the world.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk it?
If you didn't listen to it already, finish this episode and then go back and listen to it because it was a good episode.
Yeah, New York,
Hudson Valley.
I would have never thought that would have been it. I thought it would have been like out here on the West Coast, in the desert somewhere. Nope.
I thought it would have been here in Utah, like Skinwalker Ranch or Dugway.
Yeah, Utah,
They're
Nevada,
super
Arizona.
hot spots.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Area 51 too.
Mm-hmm.
And actually Roswell. Was it Roswell?
Yeah, New Mexico as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But no, not on the West Coast.
Nope, it's New York.
It's New York. But yeah, we did an investigation recently. The good old Benson Grist Mill. We've been in there a lot. Nothing really happened that I know of.
I didn't get to do any investigating.
No, but you got to eat a lot of good food.
Oh my God, I was so full. I woke up full.
You woke up full?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any of the bacon-wrapped pickles?
I did. I had a few of those. They were very delicious. Everything was delicious.
Everything was delicious. So I was actually, that was supposed to be the last one I ever did.
Yep, you said it.
I got bullied into doing more.
Yeah, everyone beat you up pretty good.
So maybe we'll have like a contest or something for local listeners that want to come and join us on an investigation.
And a potluck.
It won't be till like May or June next year, so we got plenty of time to think of something to get someone to come and investigate with us. If that's what you guys are interested in.
Yeah, but you know what? In the meantime, we do have tickets still available for the Ritz Theater because we extended that out to the end of September.
September 30th. It's a Saturday. We also reduced the prices of the tickets. If anyone looked, I don't think we mentioned the prices on the show. They're $50 a person.
Yeah. Because it is very limited on tickets.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're only selling like a dozen tickets. The venue is very small, and we don't want to overcrowd it.
So if you didn't get a chance to get tickets before, now's your chance.
Yes. Do it. And then we will have a public investigation at Benson Grist Mill coming up on October 20th as well. We do not have tickets available for that, but I'm making you aware of it so you can put it on your calendars. That is a Friday in October.
So we'll let you know when tickets are coming out for that.
Yes. So now that we've got all that out of the way.
All the legal mumbo
All
jumbo.
the legal, yes. Our lawyers, DVO. Our lawyers, DVO, wanted us to... Yeah.
Like an accountant.
Yeah.
Lawyer and accountant. And
they got together, had a
management.
meeting. DVO had a meeting with himself and then told us telepathically that he wanted us to do this at the beginning of the show.
Commercial insert here.
We're going to get a text message from him soon. He's like, what is wrong with you guys? We get that almost weekly. He's like, you guys are weird.
It's true, though.
Because you didn't know, DVO is Ghosty's brother. And he does all of our social media.
Yeah, that's right. It's my brother.
So there's a movie that just hit Netflix recently.
Right.
And I wanted to watch it. We're just going to jump right in.
Yeah, so this episode...
I was super fascinated by it. Like, the trailers looked really good when it came out earlier this year in like February or March when it came out, starring Russell Crowe, where he plays the Pope's exorcist.
When I heard this title, I thought it was like the Pope needed an exorcist, like for himself, like he was getting possessed or something. I had no idea what
totally didn't take it that way. I just thought he was like...
I didn't see any trailers to the movie. I just saw the name. That was it.
Okay. Yeah, I saw Exorcist and I was like, sweet. Because I knew they were making a sequel to the 1973 Exorcist. And a lot of people that I talked to thought that this was that, but it's not. That one actually comes out in October. So they are doing a sequel.
Oh, so they are doing
a sequel, and it's supposed to. I think they've extended the title. I don't know if you've seen the trailers for the new Exorcist movie. It's about two girls that like go out in the woods, and both the girls get possessed. This is all in the trailer. So there is a new Exorcist movie coming out, but not the one that we're talking about now. This one's on Netflix. So I mean, it was available for rent on like Peacock or Amazon Prime for quite a while, and I was really close to renting it, and then when I was on vacation, I saw it was released on Netflix, so I watched it. And then I told Ghosty, you watch it. We're talking about the Pope's Exorcist.
And I watched it.
And
here we are.
So here we are. So I'm going to say two things about it. One, I would probably rate it on a scale of like 1 to 10. I'd probably give it maybe a 6.
Yeah, I would probably in the 6-ish. Yeah, that's
so
about right.
It is very, very, very loosely based on true events, and the reason why I say that is the entire story is fictional, except for the fact that there was actually
real people's names.
Nope, just one person.
One person's real name.
They used one person's real name.
Everything built the whole story around this guy.
They built this whole fictional story around this
what
guy.
He does.
So, the Pope's Exorcist, played by Russell Crowe, his name is Father Gabriele Amorth. Amort.
Yeah, Amort.
Gabriele Amorth. He was born in Italy on May 1st, 1925.
Yep.
Okay. So, I believe his parents were into Catholicism when he was growing up. So he's been part of the Catholic Church his whole life. At the age of 18, I really didn't find anything before 18. So at the age of 18, he was drafted to fight for Mussolini's fascist regime during
the World War II.
Yep.
Yeah.
He fought for them, and shortly after the Nazis started turning Italy into a puppet state, he ended up joining an anti-fascist resistance unit. So he kind of started fighting against Mussolini and the Nazis.
And then this is where he started getting this like survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
All his buddies ended up getting killed, and he survived somehow. And they touch base on that in the movie.
They do. They put that in the movie. So some of the stuff about Father Amort in the movie is factual, but most of the story is fictional. So, I mean, it's a really good movie. The reason why I give it a 6 out of 10 is because from what I've read, Father Amort knew that they were going to make a movie on him. And like he even has books where he calls himself the Pope's Exorcist. Mm-hmm. So I think the original story probably had something to do with one of his actual cases. But I guess after rewrites and more rewrites, they ended up with this story. And originally when I watched it, I would probably give it like an 8. Like I thought it was really good. There was parts that were really scary, and then I was like super fascinated about. I was scared and fascinated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were.
About this story, and I was like, well, how much of this is actually true? And I was disappointed to find out that like 0% of it's true, other than
the name
Father Amort. No, not even the location.
Well, I mean, there's actually places in Italy with those same.
Oh yeah, the place in Italy. Well, so the movie mainly takes place in Spain.
Oh yeah.
And when I watched it with Brandy, she was upset that she's like, Spain doesn't look like that. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, that's where they said the movie takes place. When I looked into it, it was shot at a castle in Ireland. So she was correct. That's not what Spain looks like. And she'll probably be like, I told you so. But yeah, he fought in World War II. And I know, like, in the 2 years that he was in the war, or in the military, he like rose up in ranks. He actually got like a commendation from Italy. I can't remember what they gave him, but he did have a lot of survivor's guilt because his friends did die around him. And what I thought was interesting is that Russell Crowe, he actually did a lot of research on Father Amort because he wanted to portray him as accurate as he possibly could. which I thought was really cool of Russell Crowe. So Russell Crowe actually went on and said that the Second World War is raging. He ends up joining the resistance, and this is what he's saying about Father Amorth. He becomes a partisan fighter against the fascists. Now this man who had this calling to God had a gun in his hands and is shooting to kill. He gets wounded through that experience. He loses a lot of his friends. Kids that he grew up with just die around him. He comes out of that experience with quite significant survivor's guilt. As he says in the film, to die in war is heroic, to survive a war is complex. And that's a quote from Russell Crowe. So Russell Crowe, from what I understand, like really admired the work that Father Amorth did. And
what do you think about his accent?
He's got some weird accents in his movies. He's played all sorts of nationalities. Like he was a Spaniard in Gladiator. He's Italian in this one.
What do you think about his weird, like, Russian Zeus accent?
Oh, in Thor?
Yeah.
I don't think he does. I don't think he does accents very well. But, yeah, like, how crazy would that be? Like, you're at war, and like literally everyone around you is dying, and you survive.
Oh, that'd be scary as shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, like, let's say, like, your best friend gets shot and killed right in front of you in war, and you get to come home and he doesn't. Like, imagine how you would feel.
PTSD.
Right. So, a little bit after the war ended, or when he was done in the war, he decided to kind of follow in the footsteps of his dad and his grandfather, who were both lawyers. So he started studying law. And he did that for a couple of years. I think he even got a degree. While he was studying law, he was actually part of an influential political organization known as the Young Christian Democrats. While he was there, he served as a deputy to Julio Andrade. Julio. It's Italian. I'm probably saying it wrong, and I apologize. Now, Andrade was actually a prominent figure in Italian politics, and he actually ended up becoming a prime minister later. So Father Amorth actually got to work with this guy. It wasn't until 1954 when he was ordained a Roman Catholic priest. So while he was studying law, I guess he decided that his true passion was the church.
Was in Christ.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah. Passion. What was the name of the movie? I was trying to think. It was A Passion of the Christ?
Passion of the Christ with Jim Caviezel.
Yes. Yeah,
he likes to star in controversial films, but we're not going to get into that. So yeah, 1954, he becomes a Catholic priest. It wasn't until 1986, when he was 61, that he was appointed to be the assistant to the Vatican's chief exorcist, who was Candido Amonti. And again, I apologize if I'm saying these names wrong. I don't speak Italian. I don't speak Italian.
Yeah.
So all our Italian listeners are going to send us angry emails.
Well, no, we won't be able to understand it anyway.
Probably. So what I thought was interesting in the movie, that it takes place in 1987, and they have it set up to where he has years of experience as an exorcist at this point in 1987, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1986, when he became the assistant to the chief exorcist, he had zero experience.
Really?
Yep.
So it made it seem like he had a lot beforehand. Like he was already knowing about stuff and was kind of like there and seeing it firsthand, but he never did?
Not until 1986, when he became the assistant to Candido.
So what made him go in that direction, though, of the exorcisms?
I would speculate that it's just he wanted to help people, kind of like why we do paranormal. Like we just.
Well, I mean, was he having anything that was happening to him to make him want to go in that direction? Did he see?
Not that I'm aware of. I think the way it works with the Catholic Church is they heavily vet their people. I'm sure he did some studies on like demonology. I'm like, you don't just become an exorcist without studying it at least. So, I mean, I know, like, because I've looked into it in the past on, like, how to become an actual demonologist. And according to the Catholic Church, like, they have classes that you have to go to. And then they, like, vet people, and they only make people that they feel worthy to become exorcists, to actually make them exorcists. So it's not an easy task, from what I understand, to actually become recognized as an exorcist for the Vatican, for the Catholic Church. So I'm sure he did some studying, but he didn't have any actual experience until 1986 when he became the assistant.
They do some weird stuff in the Vatican. Maybe they had like some weird training room and you had to fight demons and fight.
No, they just have him sit in the classroom. I've seen videos of like, more modern times of like classes that they have to sit through and they learn about this stuff.
Maybe
so
that's what they want you to think. They have this whole secret Vatican training
I highly doubt
program.
Yeah, they're like Van Helsing. They're fighting
vampires
they're fighting vampires
demons.
And ginger squatches. And
oh man, you better get ready.
I would know. Do you think we don't have meetings?
You better.
So he actually spent the next 6 years studying and training and learning under Father Candino.
Learning how to kill.
Learning how to kill demons.
Yeah, in the Vatican training program.
Yes. When Father Candino died in 1992, that's when Father Amorth became the chief exorcist for the Vatican.
How did he die? Because usually in some of these cases, your apprentice has to be the one that kills you.
Well, being that this isn't Star Wars, he died of an illness that he had. He was sick.
Oh.
So, and he had been sick for years. I think that's why I think the Catholic Church knew that he was getting sick. I don't know what disease he ended up having, but I think they knew, obviously.
Demons.
It was, his disease was demons. Mm-hmm. I think they knew that his health was declining, which is why they assigned Father Amorth to him.
To kill him.
To kill him and take his
Vatican
powers, because there can be only one.
The Vatican training program.
Yes. Yeah, he was trained by
the Sith Lord, the Pope himself.
Christopher Lambert.
Yeah.
Trained him on how
to... the McLeods?
Yeah. Trained him how to use a sword.
While they were filming in Ireland?
Yep. Yeah. So 1992, he became the chief exorcist.
When the Highlander came out,
which he ended up being the chief exorcist for like over 30 years. Yeah, because he died in 2016. So in 1990, though, before he became the chief exorcist, he actually got together with a French exorcist named Father René Chenesso. Yeah, sure. Father René is what I'm going to call him.
Okay, sounds good. I like that.
It was an International Association of Exorcists that they founded. It was headquartered in Rome and is actually recognized by the Vatican. And he was the president of this organization until he retired in 2000. And like I said, he served as the chief exorcist until 2016. Now, he performed
900.
a lot of exorcisms.
900,000 or 700,000?
70.
70,000?
Yeah. No, just 70.
No way.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so
900,000.
No, not that many. So in October of 2000, it was reported that he had performed over 50,000 exorcisms. So that's just 8 years, or I guess it would be since he started training in 1986. You were looking at like 14 years. He supposedly did 50,000 exorcisms, is what the report was. Now, he said in March of 2010 that he was now up to 70,000 exorcisms. So in the next 10 years, he did 20,000 more exorcisms, okay? And then of May of 2013, that number jumped to 160,000.
Whoa.
So in 3 years, he did, what is that? 60 plus 30, 80,000 exorcisms in 3 years.
I wonder how many he was doing a day. Just people coming to his house, or having him go just house to house all day long, with everyone saying they were possessed.
Well, here's how he explains it. According to him, each exorcism doesn't represent a victim of possession.
Oh, it's how many?
It's each exorcism is counted as a prayer or ritual. So anytime he did a prayer to somebody, they counted as an exorcism. The other here's the other caveat to that is some of the possessed victims required hundreds of exorcisms,
Mm-hmm.
And the other part of that is like some of them, let's say, possibly have like thousands of demons inside of them, is what the claim is. So like, let's say you have, 2,000 demons in you.
He counts that as
That's
2,000.
2,000 exorcisms.
Okay.
That's what I got from the research.
Okay, that would make sense how the numbers get up there so much.
Yeah.
But, because, yeah, it seems like when he was doing, because I was watching the documentary while he was doing the exorcisms, and they didn't last very long.
No.
And nobody's crawling on walls. No one's spinning their heads backwards.
Nope. They're not. So there was actually a professor of canon law. His name was Edward Peters. He found the claims of Amorth saying that he did like 30,000 exorcisms over 9 years astounding. Even accepting Amorth's claim that only 94 of his 30,000 exorcisms represented full-blown possessions. So I know that like basically he said maybe 2% of the people that he performed exorcisms on were actually possessed.
Yeah, like 2%.
So like 2 out of like 100 people actually had actual demons in them. So it was very rare. And I know like when he performed these exorcisms, from what I understand, he went through like a rigorous process. And I know that like before 1999, I guess the Catholic Church didn't really have like a set of rules on exactly how to go about.
They were just killing people.
Yeah.
Shooting them in the head.
Well, I mean, that was the Crusades. Join us or die.
They're like, no. He's got the demons. Well, you know what to do.
Yeah. So, well, they kind of do that in the movie, sort of.
Yeah.
As at the very beginning, they shoot a pig. But here's the thing is, before he would actually perform these exorcisms, he would, look at their medical records. He would oftentimes show up with medical professionals like a doctor and psychiatrist. And from what I understand of the Catholic Church is like, they don't just willy-nilly send someone out to perform an exorcism. Like there is a process that you have to go through. And I know like Ed Warren, even though he wasn't a Catholic priest, he did work hand in hand with a lot of Catholic priests. And a lot of the times, from what I understand, Ed Warren was sent out by the Catholic Church to kind of vet people to see if it was legit before they even send like a priest out.
Right.
But like, there's a whole process that people have to go through before they're even considered to be like full-blown possession. And a lot of the times, the people that Father Mort were dealing with were most likely suffering from some sort of like mental illness or some kind of physical disease. Like I've been on cases where people thought they were possessed, and we ask them, if they're doing any drugs or anything like that. And one guy was like, "Yeah, I did LSD." It's like, okay, maybe you're hallucinating. So, I mean, there's all sorts of things that cause people to think that they're possessed. And what I've noticed is, and maybe this is just because of how people work, but I've never met someone or heard of someone that isn't like really religious, that doesn't follow any religion, being possessed.
Right.
Most people are either a member of some sort of religion.
Yeah.
And even growing up, like I grew up LDS. Like I never heard of anyone in the LDS Church being possessed.
I don't think I ever did.
Although I did hear one story of one of my seminary teachers. That's the seminary, for those of you that don't know, in high school here.
Church class.
It's a church class. Basically, you're released from your high school for 1 hour to go to a separate building that's usually not considered part of the school property, but it's somewhere on the school grounds.
The separation of church and state is a chain link fence.
Yeah, pretty much. Or in our case, where we went to Hillcrest, it was the parking lot.
Yeah. That was the separation of church and state in Utah.
Yeah, so you'd go and you'd study about the Mormon religion during the seminary class. So I had a seminary teacher tell me once, I think it was while he was on a mission or someone he knew was on a mission. That's where you go out and you teach people about the LDS Church or whatever religion. I know other religions have missionaries as well. But there was someone that, like, I guess they went and saw like a healer of some sorts, and the guy had broken his arm, and they went and saw the healer, and the healer like unbroke his arm, like fixed his arm, right? And so this kid started questioning his religion, and he was going to go home, but I guess like his mission president said, you know what, before you go home, do you mind if I give you a blessing? And the kid agreed to it, and during the blessing, the guy had said to the kid, you know, if there's any unclean spirits in your body, I cast you out now. And apparently from what I remember this story going, when the mission president said he cast out any unclean spirits, the kid's arm re-broke.
He broke it. He did it to the kid.
Well,
you ain't going nowhere.
Well, so the story is when that healer, quote unquote healer, did whatever they did to heal this kid's broken arm. He put some sort of evil spirit in him, and that the evil spirits would fix his arm. So, like, some people might consider that a form of possession, but I don't know that I would. So,
Sounds like
to be honest with you, like actual full blown possession, even according to Father Amorth, is super rare.
Sounds like that missionary president broke it again.
Probably. He's like, unclean spirits, be gone, crack.
Snaps it. Oh, I'll tell you right now what that was. This unclean spirit that was put in your body.
So anyway, yeah. So anyway, according to Father Amorth's claim, like this guy said, if he accepts the claim that 94 out of the 30,000 exorcisms represented were full-blown possessions, that he would have to have done roughly one case a month to be thoroughly examined and processed over 9 years with hardly a break. So he would just have to be constantly like...
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Like all day long.
But like I said, he accounted for the high numbers by the people might be possessed by more than one demon at once, and sometimes numbering in the thousands. So that's how he came up with those numbers. He also attributed the number of exorcisms performed to his opinion that people have lost faith, and superstition, magic, Satanism, or Ouija boards have taken its place, which then open up all the doors to the presence of demons. So, if you do any of these things, like, you could be manipulated by thousands of demons. So, like I said, if according to him, if you had 1,000 demons in you, and he performed like a 15-minute exorcism, that's 1,000 exorcisms.
I want to see how many actual individuals that he helped.
See, I would like to, but I couldn't find that anywhere.
Who's keeping his track records for him?
He did.
Ah.
Maybe his assistants? I don't know. I couldn't find that information. It's just how many he performed. What I thought was interesting is when he was asked whether or not the devil can strike inside the Vatican, he actually stated he already did. Or he already tried. And he said he did back in 1981 by attacking John Paul II, by working with those who were armed with the Agaca.
Oh, when he got shot?
I guess. I don't know. It's possible there was a Pope John Paul II got shot in 1981.
I think so.
Okay.
Can't remember. Or assassination attempt. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't born yet.
So, I mean, I wasn't either. So, yeah, according to Father Amorth, he actually, the devil infiltrated the Vatican. And it was more through, like, temptation and sinning. It wasn't like any of the members of the Vatican or the hierarchy or whatever.
He's just looking in the window.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like he's saying like anyone got possessed. It was just more like people succumbing to temptation.
Like, oh, look, there's a devil's face in the window, and he's making sexual gestures with his hands. Damn devil.
So he offered the following guidelines to those exercising the charism of exorcism. Any such person must be highly regarded for their prayer life, faith, acts of charity, and judgment. In addition, he must rely solely on the Word of God and traditional prayer, be completely detached from monetary concerns, be profoundly humble, and treasure obscurity. So that's what he said, like, people need to do if they're interested in becoming an exorcist.
Don't have a life.
Don't
own anything.
Yep. Well, I wish I could not have to worry about financial concerns.
Right?
The Vatican last confided the Rites of Exorcism in 2004 in an updated Latin language document. So I do know that like most exorcisms now, if not all, have to be either in Latin or language approved by the Vatican. So you'll never hear exorcism performed in English. I don't think that's one of the approved ones.
Really?
I think most of them are done in Latin, and
Okay.
I think Italian might be approved as well since the Vatican's in Italy.
Yeah.
Makes
sense.
Some of the things I thought were interesting on some of Father Amorth's views, he did not like yoga.
Really? Why?
So at a film festival, at a film festival, where he was introduced to the 2011 film about exorcism called The Rite, he's quoted as saying that yoga is satanic because it leads to the practice of Hinduism, and all Eastern religions are based on a false belief in reincarnation, and practicing yoga is satanic. It leads to evil, just like reading Harry Potter. And the reason why he didn't like it, like he thought that like if you got interested in like magic or witchcraft or wizardry, anything like that, those were all signs of evil.
I like how another religion was automatically evil to him.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, it's all Eastern religions because, well, I mean, look at like Western religions right now, like Catholicism, Christianity.
The ones that say, join us or we'll kill you.
Well, that was just the Catholics.
I think it was Christianity in a whole.
Well, the Crusades was the Catholics. Literally, the Crusades was join us or die.
Yeah, it was.
That was Catholicism. So, it wasn't all Christians, unless you're the Westboro Baptist, and then you just boycott everything.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Cancel everything.
Like he even thought Harry Potter was bad. Harry Potter was bad. But he's not the only one. Like there's religious people out there besides him that aren't even Catholic. Like this other podcast I was listening to, he didn't grow up religious, and his parents still thought like Harry Potter and stuff like that would lead to demonic possession, being interested in stuff like that. So there's some people out there that are a little off their rocker.
I think it's the Baptists that are like everything's the devil.
So have you heard about Emanuela Orlandi?
No.
So there's actually a 2022, I think, documentary on her on Netflix. It's called The Disappearance of Emanuela. So so what I thought was interesting, they kind of hinted at this in The Pope's Exorcist. There was a girl that in the movie he didn't help. Her name was like Rosa or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And she had a mental illness, and she ended up jumping off the roof of a building and killing herself. Mm-hmm. And they kind of hinted at like the priests and that were kind of sexually abusing her in the movie, right? Mm-hmm. So that they say is kind of loosely based on this Emanuela. So Emanuela was a 15-year-old girl that disappeared in Rome in 1983. So Amorth claimed that her disappearance, like it's a Vatican schoolgirl that went missing in 1983. He says that she was kidnapped for a sex party by a gang involving Vatican police and foreign diplomats. He said that she was later murdered and her body disposed of. He also claimed that girls were recruited at the Vatican for parties, adding that her death was a crime with sexual motive. And as of right now, they still don't know what happened to this girl that went missing in like 40 years ago.
Oh, shit.
So, like I said, the claim there is that certain people in the Vatican were like kidnapping girls and sex trafficking, more or less.
Believe it.
And like I said, they kind of hinted at that a little bit in the movie with the girl that committed suicide. They were hinting at that, like she was being abused in a sexual manner.
Things have came out now that it's hard not to believe. So
the movie, like I said, completely fictitious, but it's still worth watching, especially it's on Netflix. Like you're not really out money.
So
by watching this,
there was another movie that was made that was loosely based off of some of his stuff, which I wasn't sure if this was what they were referring to when he was getting talked to by these other archbishops or whatever. But there's that movie that came out of, what was it, in 2011, maybe later, The Exorcist of Emily Rose. Have you heard, that one?
I've heard of that, but I haven't seen it.
And that's the one where she ends up like dying. She dies, and the whole movie's kind of based about her being possessed and the exorcism that was happening and her dying in the process of the exorcism. And there was, I guess, something in one of his stories or that he's done where they kind of took that story and kind of loosely based that whole thing off of one of his events. But I wasn't sure if that was what was going on when he was getting talked to with all those archbishops in the movie.
Well, when he was getting talked to, part of it was because, like I said, he would perform these prayers and stuff on people that thought they were possessed. That he knew. That
it was because the one the pig.
It's because the start of the movie.
Yeah.
He knew this guy wasn't possessed. It was just something mental going on with him. So he had like convinced this guy that the spirit had jumped out of his body into the pig. Mm-hmm. And then that's why they shot the pig to show that the demon was dead. Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's when the guy was better. And they talked to him about like the way he did some of these exorcisms or how he was doing them. Like that one in the movie wasn't approved as an exorcism.
Right, but he was saying that wasn't an exorcist.
Yeah, he said it wasn't an exorcism because it was just a mental illness.
Okay, I was trying to remember. There was something that they were talking about that was tied to one of his events, and I wasn't sure if that was also one of the reasons why he's being talked to. But no, it was just that because of that one thing. What was up with that one archbishop seeming like he was such a bad guy?
I don't know.
He's all.
I mean, that's all make believe. None of that.
Yeah,
happened,
but he was always scowling, like he was like just so against everything for no reason. Just hated Father Amorth for.
Well, I guess the whole thing is like the young people are coming in and they're changing the ways. They don't want to. They don't believe anymore. They don't believe that evil exists, and they want to get rid of the exorcist.
Yeah, that's when he's like, "Well, what's the point of having a religion then?"
Yeah, so none of that happened. But I hate to break it to you, I'm like ruining it for everybody. So Father Amorth actually wrote several books, all of them in Italian. Not everything is translated over to English, but some of the ones that have been, I will tell you real quick. I'm gonna buy some of these because out of all the like people that we've studied over the years, I'm just fascinated by this guy because of some of the stuff he did during his exorcisms, and we'll get into that in a minute.
It would be best if he could get the Audible with Russell Crowe reading it with his weird accent.
Well, you can get these on Audible, but not Russell Crowe, unfortunately.
Damn it.
So he has one called An Exorcist Tells a Story, An Exorcist More Stories, An Exorcist Explains the Demonic, the Antics of Satan and His Army of Fallen Angels. He has another one called The Devil is Afraid of Me, the life and work of the world's most famous exorcist. He's got Father Amorth, My Battle Against Satan. Father Gabriele Amorth, the official biography of the Pope's exorcist. And then the Pope's Exorcist, 101 Questions about Father Gabriele Amorth. So those are some of the ones that you can actually buy that are translated into English. So unless you know Italian, then you can get all of his books. You can buy them all anyways and just learn Italian so you can read them.
I'm sure there's a way to get it translated.
Probably. Those are the only ones that have been translated to English as far as I know. Now, while I was doing research on this movie, I found a 2017 documentary called The Devil and Father Amorth. Mm-hmm. And
watch it.
I had you watch it. I watched it. I know DVO said he was going to watch it. I've watched it like 2 or 3 times now. And I thought it was super interesting. So this documentary was actually filmed in 2016. And it was written and directed by... the name escapes me.
Same guy that did The Exorcist.
The guy that directed The Exorcist. William...
Hung.
William Hung. Yes, she bangs. No. What's his name? Anyways, did you know that that director died? Like, on the 7th of this month?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He looked pretty old when he did that. Like, he sounded really good for as old as he looked.
William Friedkin. William Friedkin. The guy that directed The Exorcist in 1973. 2, whenever the hell it came out, did this documentary. And what was funny is I guess Father Amorth had actually said The Exorcist was his favorite movie because it showed people like what it is that he actually does. Obviously not all possessions are that extent, like where your head spinning and you're doing naughty stuff with a crucifix and spider walking and peeing on the floor and vomiting and all that. Like, it's not to that extent, but it kind of opened people's eyes up to what he does, and that's why he liked that movie. So I guess William reached out to Father Amorth and asked if he could meet him. And, well, Father Amorth instantly said yes. Like, he was super excited to do it. So they got to talking, and at one point, I guess, he wanted to know if he could film an actual exorcism taking place. And Father Amorth said, let me get back to you on that. And then it was a couple days later when Father Amorth had called William and said, yeah, we can do it. But you can't have a film crew. There's no lighting or anything. All you could bring in is just one like little camera. And so basically, like, it looks like the camera that he used wasn't like an actual camcorder. It's like one of those digital like photography cameras that can do video. This is what the camera looked like. So it wasn't an actual like camcorder from what it looked like in the documentary. By the way, this documentary, before we get too much into it, it is on Crackle. It's a free streaming service, and it's probably about an hour and a half long. He does talk a little bit about some of the stuff that, like how The Exorcist was made. There's a brief interview with William Blatty, the writer of the book of The Exorcist. But what I thought was interesting was not all that stuff. It was more when they start interviewing this couple. I believe they're from Italy, I want to say, but I'm not sure. They're not even a couple. They're brother and sister. Couple's not the right word. They're not from here. They're not from Alabama. Anyways, so he interviewed this brother and sister named Paolo and Nadia. Okay. So how this all started with Nadia is, I guess she went to a sanctuary with a friend. And when she got there, when the mass started, she started to cry and her body began to shake and she fell into a sort of a trance. Okay. And then I think it was later, like when she got home, she actually called Paolo for help and asked him to come over. And when he got there, she was screaming like crazy, and to the point where like it was loud enough, I guess someone called the police, right? Police show up and they were terrified by her screaming and they wouldn't even come into her house. Right?
Just off her screams?
Yeah. Her screams were so like crazy. The police wouldn't come in. I guess she started showing signs of extraordinary strength. She became really strong. Her body began to change into something not human. Apparently she started slithering on the floor and speaking a strange language. Paolo said that she looked like a wild animal and her belly was swollen like a balloon that was about to burst. After several episodes of stuff like this happening is when they went to see Father Amorth. So I think he reached out to Father Amorth before, asking for help. And one of the first things that Father Amorth did was ask to see her medical records to make sure it wasn't a psychological disease. Again, he did kind of vet people to make sure that it was like legit a spiritual disease is what they were calling it.
Damn, how many times do you think that shit happened before he actually came out there?
Well, again, I think this happened over a period of like several months before they finally got him out there. And
like, oh shit, she's doing that thing again. Her belly's getting all big. She's slithering around. What the hell do you do?
They literally said that she transformed into something that looked not human.
Yeah,
almost like serpent-like.
Like, what do you do if that just becomes like a normal thing in the house?
You're like, oh, she's just there. She goes.
She's slithering again.
Nadia's a snake again. Like, I don't know. Like, what would you do?
I don't even know. Like, do you put her in a cage? Like, do you chain her up so she doesn't slither down into a river? I don't know.
Into a river?
Yeah.
Like, those are just around all the place.
Who knows? They're in another country.
This is true.
Rivers are common.
So, when he first met her, the first time they ever met, she went into an extreme state of panic, and he had Paulo take Nadia into her room where his assistants were waiting. That's where the first exorcism on Nadia took place. What's funny is, like, she said that Father Amorth was funny and ironic. She wasn't afraid of him, and he helped her to understand what was happening to her. So I was a little confused about, like, what they were saying, because, like, right off the bat is like, oh, he shows up and she enters this state of panic, but then she goes on to say that, well, I wasn't afraid of him, and he was funny. So one of the things that Father Amorth did in the exorcism that they filmed in this documentary, he actually put his thumb on his nose, and they call it thumbing his nose, or sometimes he'd like blow a raspberry before starting the exorcism. So that's one of the things that I liked. Like he tried to remain lighthearted and have a sense of humor about this stuff, because it was his way of showing the devil, according to him, showing the devil that, you know, he wasn't afraid, and that I guess the devil didn't like the jokes. That's why he would do it. So, like, I don't know if you noticed that in the video, in the documentary. He actually did that at the start of the exorcism.
I know that I remember someone mentioning that he tells one of his famous jokes or something.
So, yeah, this was Paulo and Nadia.
Yeah, his brother.
So, I guess over the course of 8 months, he performed like 4 or 5 exorcisms on Nadia. The first exorcism, they were the most violent ones. It took about 4 people to hold her down so he could perform the exorcism. The second exorcism, they ended up having to tie her to the bed. Okay. The last 2 exorcisms, the intensity of her strength, they noticed was decreasing. Like, it was not as strong as it was before. And I guess after the 4th exorcism or so, Father Amorth told her that it was over and that she was liberated. And then after that, she said she felt like a huge weight had been lifted out of her. And then they were kind of concerned about Paulo. There is I guess there's a thing called transference, where it's possible, like, and you see this in a lot of movies. I mean, if you've seen The Exorcist, it happens in that. You've seen it in The Conjuring 3, where, like, some people might, in the movies, or say, you know, hey, take me over instead of them, like, leave them alone, take me. But there's also a chance during an exorcism that if they successfully exorcise the demon from the person, that the demon could just jump into somebody nearby. And I've seen this in a lot of movies about exorcism and demons and stuff like that, which is why I thought it was interesting. Before I jump too far ahead. So after he tells her that she's liberated, they're concerned about Paulo because of the transference. So they do a 15-minute exorcism session on him. And that's at the end of the exorcism, that's when he told one of his jokes. And Father Amorth said, compared to what I usually deal with, you're bursting with health. Mm-hmm. So that leads into this other girl. I believe she was a 46-year-old architect that got to the point to where this stuff was so bad that she couldn't work anymore. But Paulo is the one that introduced, I guess he started working with Father Amorth after this and kind of helping him out with some of his cases. And he's the one that noticed some of the stuff going on with Christina. And that's who in the documentary, they actually show this like 20-minute exorcism session.
Yeah, and she didn't believe that she could have been possessed until after so many things were brought to her attention that she didn't realize.
And yeah, so there was stuff that like she didn't even remember happening, that people were telling her like, hey, you did this. And she's like, really? And a lot of the signs that people look for when they're saying that someone's possessed, especially Father Amorth, is that like they have like an aversion to holy symbols like the cross or holy water, stuff like that. Or like when you invoke the name of Jesus Christ, they can't be around stuff like that. So apparently Paula was at like a church or something and heard Christina, or saw Christina showing some of these signs of possession. And that's when he got Father Amorth involved. And I know over I don't remember how many years it was or how many months, but I know that at the point of this documentary, when they let William come and film the exorcism, she had already had 8 previous exorcisms. This was the 9th that he got to film. Mm-hmm. And it's probably one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Like I said, he started out with putting his thumb on his nose and wiggling it. They like I said, they call it thumbing the nose. And that's what he did in this particular one. What I thought was interesting is this exorcism, this one that they filmed, took place in 2016 on May 1st.
Yeah, this was...
Why do you think May 1st is interesting? Do you remember from the beginning of the episode? He was born on May 1st. He performed this exorcism on his birthday. So he would work holidays, he would work Easter, he would work all the time, and apparently even on his birthday. So, like, this is how much he valued, like, other people and helping people. Like, a day that, for me, like, I took 2 weeks off for my birthday, and I didn't do anything. He was exorcising people. He was doing exorcisms on his birthday.
This exorcism, I mean, I've never seen anything like live like that. Where
I think this is the only one that's ever been filmed.
Yeah,
like legit exorcism. I've seen like Paranormal State where they're like
doing some stuff. Like, yeah,
nothing against Chip Coffey. He's a great guy. I've met him.
But like him,
but they bring
like
him in
father.
and like some other priest in, and they're like performing exorcisms on Paranormal State. It's one of those ghost hunting shows that was put together by some guy that used to go to Penn State. That's why it's called Paranormal State. But watching that, I'm like, I know there's a lot more that goes into this, that you can't just send like the local priest to come and perform an exorcism.
So the shit that was going down in that exorcism, the voices that were coming out of her mouth sounded like it was made by like in the movies.
Yeah.
It was like, it sounded synthesized, like there was two voices coming out at the same time.
Yep.
And like you could hear the different octaves of the two voices. And she was screaming these things, and like screaming at them for, like it was the demon yelling at them saying that she is his, or like she, that she belongs.
Like, let her go.
Like, let her go. She's mine.
Like, no, never. She's mine.
She's mine. No, you can't have her. Yeah.
And at one point, I guess he asked how many are in there, and they're like, armies. We have armies. There's armies of us.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, like, I don't know, when you watched it the first time, did you get chills or anything?
When I heard that, I was like, what the shit is this? Yeah, I was pretty freaked out when I first heard that voice.
I wasn't.
You wasn't?
No.
I was
kind of in a state of disbelief.
Yeah, I was like that because I couldn't believe it. Is this a real documentary, or was this made like did they edit this to make that sound?
That was my thought. Is it bumping my...
Oh, sorry. Mine sounds great.
So that was my thought, was that they edited the sound in. Mm-hmm. And I've gone back and listened to it a couple times. Stop. Mm-hmm. I'm having technical difficulties. Sorry. So I've gone back and listened to it a couple times, and I'm not sure. Like, I started kind of getting the chills. Like, I was listening to it when we were on our break at work. I was playing it for my coworker, and he was like, "What the hell is that?" And I actually I don't know. I don't need to hear.
Yeah.
Thing. It's probably I probably need to buy new headphones. I'm going to put your brother's headphones on.
Go ahead.
It's driving me crazy. I'm sorry. I apologize. We're using these ones. Okay. So I actually clipped some audio from this exorcism.
Yeah. So,
do you want to hear it?
Yeah. I've heard it, but I think everyone else wants to hear it.
I know you've heard it. That was a rhetorical question. I'm going to play it.
Yeah, I know you're going to play it.
So the first one I'm going to play, I think, is... Now, this is all in, I'm assuming, Italian or Latin, or I don't know what language they're speaking. It's not English.
I'm going to guess Italian.
Part of it, you're going to hear, like, Father Amorth, and then part of it, you're going to... Oh, my goodness. You're going to hear the other voice. So I try to, like, play some of his voice so you can hear, like, what he sounds like, and then the other voice. So... the first one's going to be kind of quick on the voices, but here we go. I think this is one where he's like telling the spirits to leave the person, and it's yelling. This is what the caption says, is like, never, never, that she's ours. And here we go.
Non te l'ha fissata ancora? Non te l'ha fissata? No! Ma lui a fissarlo perché tu non conti una cicca. Ovvero un conto una... È la mia! È la mia! È la mia! È di Cristo! È di Cristo!
Okay, so this next one, I think, is when he's like asking, like, how many are in there, like, you need to leave again, and it's like yelling and saying, like, no, there's armies of us in here, as according to the captions, but...
Figliola, liberala da Satana e dagli altri demoni che la tormentano. Siamo eserciti! Eserciti! Per intercessione della Vergine Maria.
That voice.
Yeah, that voice. So when I first heard that, I was just kind of like, listening to it now, I'm like, it gives me chills a little bit. But like, at first I'm like, I'm watching her mouth, and like her mouth is moving when this is happening, but at first I'm just like, did he go through and edit this?
Because
that was my first thought.
Like, how does somebody make that kind of a tone?
Right.
Yeah, it's
insane. And like, you actually, in the documentary, you hear her talking beforehand, like normal. Mm-hmm. And...
Well, the things doesn't start coming out until, like, as he's doing, like, because she's not being like that right off the bat or anything.
No, it's when he starts the prayers.
She meets him and, like, talks to him because they've met before, and then
they're doing the prayers. Exorcism.
Yeah, they're doing the prayers, and then all of a sudden it starts coming out while they're doing the prayers.
Yeah.
Pretty nuts.
Well, then it shows later on in the documentary, like, he takes the video around and shows it to a bunch of, like, neurologists and psychiatrists and stuff like that, and asked what they think. And from what I gathered, a bunch of the doctors, they're like, they didn't really have an explanation. They're like, I don't think this is something that physically can happen, especially like where it sounded like multiple voices were coming out at once. Mm-hmm. Like I said, when I first watched this, I was kind of in a state of disbelief, and I apologize if I probably should have put like I mean, I did mention I'm playing the voices.
Yeah.
Like, if it sets anybody off, I apologize. But
sets anyone off?
I don't know. Maybe some people like can't handle hearing stuff like that. But it's a little creepy. And like I said, my first initial.
Well, if they're listening to this podcast, they're in here for the spookiness.
This is true.
Yeah. So
but
you're gonna get spookiness, damn it.
From us.
Yeah, we're gonna give it to you.
So yeah, like I said, my initial thought was that it was edited somehow, but when it showed him like showing the video to the doctors and stuff like that, like I don't know. Like, I want to believe that the thing that kind of gets me or makes me think that it wasn't edited is because everything I've read about Father Amorth, I don't think that he would have allowed for that to happen. But then again, he could have done like the editing and not told Father Amorth about it. I mean, the documentary came out like a year after Father Amorth died.
Damn.
But I don't know. Like, I mean, I know there's some people that I want your opinions on this. Like, leave us comments on social media. Or email us what you think. But I don't know. I'm still a little torn. Like, I want to believe that that's legit because that's what the guy said. But part of me wants to, like, I mean, he is a filmmaker. And
right. Filmmakers have
just because
effects and audio.
Just because he took in just a simple like camera and was able to record video on it doesn't mean that he wasn't able to then edit film. Some sound into there or have like a sound editor do it for him before going around and showing this video to all these doctors and then posting the documentary. I mean, like, this was filmed May 1st, 2016. The documentary came out in 2017, almost a year later.
Well, like that sound is very similar to the sound that they do on movies and stuff, right?
It is. It's very similar.
And so, like, when I heard that, it's like I've heard that tone before in movies for the similar type of thing.
So
it is like that thing. It's like, holy shit, is that real or is that like synthesized?
I don't think that the exorcism itself was staged because I don't think Father Amorth would have allowed for that.
Right, but that sound.
But the sound itself, I'm very skeptical of.
Yeah,
because like it's one of those things where I wish I do want to believe it, and I wish I could have been in the room when it happened.
Be there to, yeah.
But here's the thing, like where we talked about the whole transference thing earlier and how they're worried about it possibly jumping into somebody else. Did you notice how many people were in that room when he was performing this exorcism?
Yeah.
There's probably like 20.
Yeah. and so if they're worried about it, like any one of you can get it.
Right.
Any one of you.
Well, and here's the thing: is what they did later in the documentary is they showed that they set her aside,
and then they shot her in the head.
And they shot her in the head, and it was, you've been liberated. No, they started performing like prayers or exorcisms on her parents, and she started freaking out again. Like her boyfriend had to hold her down. You remember that part?
Oh yeah, because it was still in her. Yeah.
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 So the voices started coming out again, and she wasn't even the one that was having the prayers on. They were saying the prayers to her parents. Mm-hmm. Like her mom and dad took turns sitting in the chair, getting the prayers done. And it was shortly after this, that when Father Amorth became ill, like he ended up passing away like 2 months after this exorcism took place.
Right.
What I thought was interesting is I didn't have a chance to write down exactly what William said, but he did, I guess, keep in contact of Christina and wanted to continue, like, see how her progress was going. And I remember him saying that he set up a date for them to meet so he can interview her and talk to her. And they set up a date and time at a certain, like, church that was on top of this mountain that they had to climb like a mile up to get to or something like that. And he was in the courtyard where they had agreed to meet.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Right? And she's nowhere to be found.
Well, no, she had called.
Well, so they get to the location where they were supposed to meet, right? And she's nowhere to be found. Okay? It's while they're waiting for her, that's when she calls. And she's like, "Where are you?"
No, what happened was the day before they were supposed to meet, she called them again and told them that not to meet her there, to meet her somewhere else. Then, so they don't meet her where they had planned. They met her at the place where she had called them.
Oh, okay. I must have
And
missed
so
that part.
they called her because she was not there. After a while of waiting for her, they called her and was like, "Hey," well, when she answered, she was mad at them, going, "Where are you?"
Yeah.
It's like, "Where are you guys?" And she's like, where you told us to be?" She's like, "I told you to be here and you're not here." Like, "No, you called us and told us to be here. And that's why we're here."
So so there was like, they're like, "Calm down. It's just probably some miscommunication." And they ended up going to the first place where they originally were supposed to meet. Mm-hmm. They go into the church, and I know William says that he wished he brought his camera in with him, but he didn't. And he, like, him and the assistant and the guy that he was with, they were absolutely like terrified about the conversation that took place with Christina and themselves. So this is him, what he says the interaction between them and Christina was when they finally met up with her, like the next day or whenever they were supposed to have met up.
And I entered the church. It was freezing cold inside, and we were trapped in a living nightmare. Christina was screaming. She slid around the floor in a cheap plastic chair, pulling her boyfriend Davide with her. He tried to hold her around the waist and throat. "Give us back your film," he shouted at me. "No, I want it shown," she screamed in the voice of the demon. I was terrified. Davide stared at me. "If you don't give it back to us, we'll kill you. We'll find your family and we'll kill you all." It was the first time anyone had threatened my life. Francesca.
So that was the interaction, I guess, that he had with Christina after the exorcism took place.
Crazy.
When they had their meetup. And I think I was wrong. I think I mentioned that like Christina was wanting the film back, but it was actually, I guess, her boyfriend, and the demonic entity was like, "No, we want the footage shown." Mm-hmm. Which I think it was weird. You think it would be the other way around? The demon would be like, "No, give the footage back."
No, he wants to be seen.
He wants to be seen. I guess it's a prideful thing. Like, wants to show its power and what it can do.
Well, like in the movie, too, it was trying to do these things where it was possessing multiple people at once.
Yes.
Showing its power.
Yep. Yeah, it actually did that in the movie. Yeah, possessed both the kids at the same time.
It was doing some shit where it's like, you know, this demon had all this power to like throw people around and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I don't think that's a thing.
No, not at all.
I know that in one of the exorcisms that Father Amorth did, he did say he saw actual like levitation. Mm-hmm. But that's probably the closest you get to anything you see in Hollywood. I mean, everything gets drummed up to be scary.
Yeah. And I mean, I wonder if what he had to do during those like 98 out of the 100 ones where it's something like mental, where he's just like, he's just pretending to go along with people to make them feel better.
Just saying a prayer. Sometimes a prayer can help, I guess. Just help people feel better.
Probably goes through a lot of pigs.
Yeah, I think they only did that in the movie. I don't think he actually did that in real life. I think part of that was based on like him actually like tricking people into thinking that he exorcised the demon out of them.
Into this pig. Shoots the pig.
Yeah, no, not that part. Just the saying the prayers so people think that they've...
He's just going around shooting pigs in everyone's house.
Or you can just not get on that. And... Why are you stuck on that?
I don't know.
So weird.
Because I've watched the start of the movie probably like 3 or 4 times.
Yes, Father Amorth carried around 160,000 pigs and shot them all. And that's how we have...
It's a parting gift.
That's how we
it's
have,
a parting gift he leaves every time.
That's how we have bacon. No, I think he just did went through the motions, saying the prayers and that, just so people would feel better.
Yeah, most likely.
So yeah, tell us what you think, if that voice is real or if it's been edited. You can do so by emailing us at evp.pod@gmail.com or checking out our social medias, evp.pod at Facebook and Instagram. While you're there, also click on our link to Ghost Stop to buy some ghost hunting gear. I've got a new list of stuff I want to buy. I actually went to Ghost Hunter store and I linked something to you guys. I don't know if you looked at it, but
I saw something there.
There's Ghost Hunter store is another place you can buy gear. They have this little handheld portable Jacob's ladder that I want.
Interesting.
I linked it to you. You obviously
okay, yeah. No, I didn't look at it because I was probably somewhere far away when it came.
That one, but most of the stuff like I've noticed on Ghost Hunter store is Ghost Stops stuff. So if you're gonna buy something, just go to ghoststop.com.
Use our link.
Use our link on the social medias. Go to Ghost Stop because literally like 90% of the stuff on Ghost Hunter store is stuff that's made by Ghost Stop. So, yeah, the ANC Mini is the other thing I almost bought the other day.
Yeah.
It's one of those that you connect it to your SB7 or your SB11 or the S box if you buy that from Ghost Stop. And then you have to have an external speaker as well. What the ANC Mini does is eliminates the white noise, so you're only hearing like what the spirit's supposed to be saying.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So that is on my list of things to get.
Yes. Well, I think we should call that an episode.
Okay.
All right, guys. Go so don't play that.
Peace out, butterflies.
This is the EVP Podcast.